Hang on to your hats. Here come the Steelers out of the huddle.
It is called a flashbulb memory.
Last chance for the Steelers.
It is defined as a vivid, enduring memory associated with a significant and emotional event.
Bradshaw trying to get away.
The memory includes details such as where the individual was at the time of the event.
In 1972, I was a part-time assistant equipment manager, I guess you would say. That was the last year I worked on the field, and I was in college, so I helped out on game day.
We asked members of Steelers Nation to tell us about their flashbulb memories of that immaculate day.
My parents had tickets with some friends, and I was sitting in the end zone seats with my cousin Bill.
I was listening to the radio, to the game on the radio. I was decorating, putting the final decorations on our Christmas tree.
My older sister and I went to the game. It was my first Steeler game ever.
The flashbulb analogy describes why we remember where we were, what we were doing, how we were informed, and how we reacted, as if the whole scene had been lit up by a flashbulb.
So that day, I remember we got into the parking lot. My dad gave us our ticket. It cost $11.15, and he said, "I expect to see you in the seat. I know someone's going to offer you $100. You need to be in the seat or you'll never go to another game." Sure enough, on the way in, some scalper wanted to pay me $100 and went ahead and said no.
The blackout rule that younger people don't even know about was in effect, so if my father said, let's drive back to Ohio, which I should have just stayed another day because that's where I go to school, but we drove to Youngstown, Ohio so we could get the Cleveland feed of the game so we could watch that playoff game.
Well, I was selling peanuts, and I tried pretty much every location that was available there at Three Rivers. I saw the game from pretty much every angle, and I'd watch the game mostly, and a beer guy would come by and I would follow him around and sell some peanuts.
And the seats were so high up that I had to use my parents' big Bushnell binoculars, really heavy, weighty binoculars.
On the day of the Immaculate Reception, I was at my home listening to it on the radio, as most people were at that time, and becoming exceedingly frustrated with what was happening at the game. And I told my wife, I'm going up to get the car washed at the car wash.
The Oakland Raiders have taken a 7-6 lead in a tough football game.
I get into the car wash, and of course the radio cuts out.
Hang on to your hats.
Came out of the car wash, and everybody on the radio is screaming, yelling.
These long-lasting memories appear to be more accurate and detailed, depending on the personal importance.
I was right on the sideline. Play happened almost right in front of me. I don't think any of us were expecting anything.
Late in the game, we were trailing. My sister decided we should begin to head down towards the bus. We reached the second level of the ramps, and there's a tremendous uproar.
And there's a collision. It's caught out of the air. The ball is pulled in by Franco Harris.
I was standing on the Raiders side of the 50. When the ball came up, ricocheted off of Jack Tatum, and you could see it coming, and Franco caught the ball.
I remember watching Franco coming, running right at me, and just people were going crazy, and I'm thinking, well, if he gets knocked out of bounds, we could still kick a field goal, we're doing okay. And he's running into the end zone, and people are just going berserk, and it's just the most electric moment I can ever remember.
And he's over! Franco Harris!
During the play, I jumped up. The binoculars hit me right in the tooth. The back half of my tooth split off. I spit it into my hand and thought, this is the greatest day of my life.
The term was first introduced 5 years after the play in a 1977 psychological study about an individual's ability to recall consequential and shocking events.
Let's watch this again. 1,000,000 to 1 odds on this one.
We were up on section 645, and it literally, the whole building was shaking, and I thought, we're doomed. It's not going to hold this kind of pressure. I was a little kid, 11 years old.
People came running out of the stands. It was just chaos. I mean, it was just a wild scene.
I told him I beat him to the end zone. I've been telling him that for 50 years. I had ran him to the end zone.
When that happened, I got extremely excited, fell onto the tree, off the stool. The tree went down. When the tree fell over, there was water in the base that poured out.
If you remember Three Rivers, the corridors were not as wide, and we walked down all those long ramps, and you're shoulder to shoulder with all these people, but obviously a very happy moment for all Steelers fans.
It was just unbelievably exciting. People were screaming and yelling, and we're walking across the bridge into town so I could catch the bus home.
And as the bus driver opened the door, you could tell he was very excited, and I said, "What happened?" And he said, "The Steelers just won the game."
Often, the final distinct characteristic of a flashbulb memory is the aftermath.
We were driving back, and we're happy. It was a little bit after the game. The lines were real long at the Ohio exit. And then you just looked, and people were honking and getting out of their cars and running around, and it was just a great feeling. And then I realized we're not the only people that did this. A lot of people did this.
Over the years, the tooth has been repaired multiple times. Dentists always say, well, we should replace it. And I thought, no, that's my Immaculate Reception tooth. We can't do that.
Unfortunately, when we took the tree down sometime in January and picked up the platform, we found mold growing all underneath on the rug. And the very next year, we were one of the first of any of our friends to get an artificial tree. And we called it our Franco tree, because we wouldn't have had it if it hadn't have been for Franco's Immaculate Reception.
My dear wife got a picture of Franco Harris, and it says, "Mark, sorry to hear you were on the ramp during the greatest play in NFL history, Franco Harris."
Our first playoff game I had ever experienced, first playoff game that team ever experienced, so very exciting. Fans were fired up, the team was fired up. It was a pretty special day, that's for sure.